We're going to invest. We're going to compete. We're going to play with joy. We're going to play with unity every day. And I think that's a really cool way of explaining our culture here at Seattle. I know where you want to get to because I've been there myself, and this is how we're going to do it. The relationship piece is always the foundation of what makes this thing so special and such a cool job, and why I'm really, really lucky to be able to do what I do, especially at a place like this.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to What Doesn't Appear on the Stat Sheet podcast. I'm here once again with John. John, we got another special guest.
Hey, we got a very special guest on today, Harvey.
Yes, sir.
We got Bryce Douglas, man. And, you know, he's our current assistant coach here at Seattle University. I could go through the list of what he's done in the college coaching career, NBA coaching. I mean, but I want Bryce to kind of touch on some of that. Hey, Bryce, first question here, like, how did you get started with your, coaching career, and why coaching?
Yeah, great question, John. Appreciate that one right off the bat. No, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. This is such a cool thing.
Yeah.
So how did I get started? I knew when I was probably 10 years old I wanted to be a basketball coach. And so every decision really since then has been with this kind of end goal of mine of being a head coach eventually. So I didn't play club growing up. My family wasn't a big basketball family, so I was kind of figuring it out as I went. Played at the University of Puget Sound after Bellman Prep down in Tacoma. UPS is a Division III school. We were a really great team, so it was a really fun experience. And then my first job right out the gate was GA at the University of San Diego, and so it was a really cool experience to hop into Division I right away, which I've learned since then is a really unique opportunity, right? To go from where I was to that level. WCC, as we know, is a pretty big deal. And so I was probably a little naive at that point, but it was a really cool opportunity. Thank you to Bill Greer and Mike Burns for giving me that chance, and got my foot in the door and started from there.
Nice.
Yeah, you talk about your love for coaching. What is it specifically? Is it the mentoring? Is it the playing style, almost like a chess? Is it the tactical side? What is it about coaching that you?
I think it's everything. I think originally it started out probably for all of us. It's the the TV, the big games, the shoes, the gear, all that stuff. As I grew up and matured a little bit, it became more about the relationships and that type of stuff. So as I've continued to kind of grow, not only as a person but as a coach too, the relationship piece has always been the best part for me. And I hope John can back me up on that. It's the best part, getting to know these guys, understanding what makes them tick, and more than anything else, helping them get better, not only as basketball players, but as people too. And so that's always been the best part to me, and the most fun. Now when you toss in some big games, you toss in some big wins, these guys accomplishing their goals, that adds to all of it, but the relationship piece is always the foundation of what makes this thing so special and such a cool job, and why I'm really, really lucky to be able to do what I do, especially at a place like this.
Yeah, 100%. No, I can definitely attest to that. We have a close relationship, and Bryce has helped me in a number of ways, and I'm very grateful for that. Can we talk about the coaching experience a little bit? I mean,
we can talk about whatever you want, John. That's why I'm here, baby. That's why I'm here.
San Diego, Whitman. I mean, UW. He took he did high school classes in the afternoon. You got Duke. Can you tell us a little bit about your coaching history? The path?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, because I was relatively new, no connections growing up, right? I had to figure it out. Yeah. And the people I met along the way have been so great to me, and I'm obviously incredibly thankful for them. So played at Puget Sound. Mm-hmm. Then the San Diego piece that we talked about. Yep. After those 2 years, I got my master's down there and then became an assistant coach at Whitman College. Ended up working for the coach that I played for at Puget Sound. Mm-hmm. And so that was a fun 2 years. Honestly, I made probably $2,000 a year, and I got unlimited meal points in the cafeteria. That was my deal. But it was the most fun I had. I mean, it was just straight basketball, and there was everything that I had wanted to be doing. And so, although the money piece was tough, it was the path. It was what I was wanting to do. And so it was cool to kind of take that next step as an assistant coach. So we had some good teams there. We I can't remember. I know we had some really good players. We had back-to-back MVPs. Sent a guy to Portsmouth from Division III, which is really unheard of, especially these days. A lot of success as far as building that program up. Whitman now is a really successful Division III program. And I think I'd like to say it's because of the foundation that Bridge left that place before he is now the head coach at Redlands. So after that, I wanted to go back to Division One. I wanted to see if I could do it. I wanted to see if I was good enough, and just really play and coach against the best, right? And so had the opportunity to get my foot back in the door at the University of Washington. So I would be there in the afternoons. You mentioned teaching high school classes, and that's actually an important detail because of what happens next. So I teach high school in the morning, or sub-high school, I should say. So I just do any class. That was actually a lot of fun, too. And then I drive up here from Tacoma. I'd park. You remember that, I don't know if you, there's like something across the swamp or whatever. I'm not doing any justice to the podcast here because I don't know where this was, but it was like a plant's place or something connected to UW across the lake.
Gotcha, yeah.
And so I trekked through this swamp every day because there's free parking over there.
Oh my gosh.
And so I make my way to practice, and Romar was great to me to let me be around every day, just to observe and understand, and again, get my foot back in the door. So really thankful for him. But all that was important because at that year I said, if I could be anywhere in the country next year, where would it be? And obviously I was a little naive at the time to understand how hard this actually is. Incredibly grateful and lucky to have this have worked out. But during that year, I applied to school, another master's degree at Duke. And at the time, Coach K, the only people on staff there were either students of Duke or alumni. And so I had built some relationships there over the past few summers working camp. And I kind of planted the seed. I said, hey, if I get into school, I'll be in Durham. Would love to help out with the team however I could. And it ended up working out. I took a huge risk. I moved across the country, nothing planned with basketball, just the school was guaranteed at that point. And ended up working out to where I was the assistant video coordinator there, met some unbelievable people I'm still in touch with. Kevin Cullen, I owe more than I can even repay in my lifetime. He's been fantastic to me. And obviously that experience with those people is something that is, they are Duke because of how they treat each other, the expectation, the culture there, probably the best way to put it. Unbelievable place. And to have that experience there for that year, as small of a role it was, I didn't care if I was wiping the floors up. It was just to be around those people, understand what it takes to win, understanding what greatness feels like is kind of how I explain it. When we walk in there, when you guys walked in there, that was my where I worked. When we played there this season. And it's a different feeling when you walk into a place like that. I'm kind of getting chills right now just thinking about it. But to understand the expectation, what it means to be a part of that program, what it means to be part of that university, is something that I will never take for granted. Incredibly grateful for that opportunity to even be associated in such a small way with those people. But they are an unbelievable group of guys. And obviously everything I've done since then has been because of that opportunity at Duke that Kevin gave me, and so I'm incredibly grateful for that. But all that being said, learned what greatness looked like, felt like, what it looked like every day, and unbelievable run that team went on, won the national championship, and it was a really cool experience to be, again, a very small part of that as assistant video, but really great people there, and incredibly thankful for that. So after that, went to the Phoenix Suns, went to the NBA, was an advanced scout, 1 year in the front office. And honestly, I didn't know that was the case. I took this job. It's kind of funny. I took this job. They were trying to mesh front office and basketball, and I was kind of the in-between guy. Didn't really realize at the time. So I took a job that was in the front office, which was not something I had anticipated. But it ended up being a really great experience to have that piece and then combine it with my second year when I was actually with the team. So I got kind of both sides of what the NBA looks like and both sides of that experience. So. It was important for me to go to the NBA at that point because I wanted not only to experience what the highest level of basketball looks like and works like, but college has always been kind of the end goal for me. And so to be able to walk into a living room one day and say, hey, I know where you want to get to because I've been there myself, and this is how we're going to do it. And so that experience would be really beneficial coming back to the college game and using what we did in the NBA. At the college level, and as this game, and I'm sure we'll talk about later, as this game continues to develop, our level is going to look more and more like the NBA, or at least that would be our intent, right? To get the best players, to develop you guys at the highest level, and to have that experience at that level in the NBA was incredibly beneficial to me, and again, something I'm really thankful for. So after Phoenix, you guys said it, I've been in a lot of places already, but that's part of it, right? I had to figure this out, and kind of, And so, so after Phoenix, I went back to Duke for probably like 2 or 3 months, And then Florida called, and there was a lot of connections between Florida and Duke at the time. The head coach I worked for at Florida, his dad was the athletic director at Duke. There was the ops guy at Florida. His dad was the head soccer coach, the women's soccer coach at Duke. So a lot of connection between those two spots. And ended up being there for 5 or 6 years, some long time, especially in our business.
Yeah.
But it was a good opportunity down there. So I was the director of scouting and the special assistant. Won a lot of games, worked with a lot of great players, and then just the University of Florida, like Duke in a lot of ways, that brand, how they carry themselves, the expectation of what it means to be a Gator has been something I'll carry forever. And so whenever I'm lucky enough to be a head coach down the line, those small things as far as culture and feel and what things should look like and feel like, that's what I'm going to take from all those experiences and bring them to wherever I'm lucky enough to be the head coach one day. But really cool experience down there. And then my boss at the time ended up taking the University of Georgia. And so I went up to Georgia for a year, same role there as the special assistant. And I was about, I want to say 10 or 12 years away from home at that point, just kind of, again, on this basketball journey. And there's an opportunity here at Seattle to come home. And so now I've been here for the last 2 years, and as an assistant coach, which has been great, working with you guys, obviously CBI championship 2 years ago, and a lot of winning. Now we're in the WCC because of that, because of the success the coaches had. So it's an exciting time to be here, an exciting time to be a part of Seattle. And again, I'm incredibly grateful and thankful for the opportunities I've had. Most recently, of course, this one here at Seattle, man, working with you. JC every day.
Come on, man.
Sizzle.
Come on now.
Sorry to talk so much, man. That was a lot.
We talk about daily deposits, right? Getting in the daily deposits.
Absolutely.
That's what we're about, you know. And yeah, no, I'm excited for this next year. No, I mean obviously new conference. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you finished with that, coming back to Seattle, because I actually wanted to ask you, from a coaching perspective, we asked our last couple of guests this, why do you think Seattle has such an impact on the basketball world, whether it be NBA, international game? It feels like
100%.
Seattle has such a core to the basketball community, to the basketball world. Like, why do you think that is? Why Seattle?
You know, that's a great question. I think I read a stat that Seattle has the most pro basketball players per capita in the country, right? So obviously basketball is a huge part of our culture here. I will say, JC will know this, I say Seattle. I'm from Tacoma. I claim Tacoma.
Okay.
So obviously about 40 minutes south of here. Very proud of being where I'm from.
Yeah.
But being where I've been the last few years, right, no one knows where Tacoma is, so I got to say Seattle. So again, no disrespect to the Seattle guys, because I know I'm not a Seattle guy.
Yeah.
I'm a Tacoma guy.
Yeah,
I'm a Tacoma guy, and I'm proud of that. But to answer your question, I think it's just part of what makes this place so cool. Now,
Right.
I think basketball, growing up, at least when I did, the Sonics, how big GP and Kemp were. I think that just took off. Obviously, the success that Romar had at the University of Washington, and then all the guys that stayed here and played for UW and were such great representatives of the city, of the area, that have gone on to such great heights and success. Obviously, Jamal, IT, Paulo, come to mind off the top. I know I'm missing a ton, and no disrespect to those guys, because obviously they all laid the foundation for what's going on right now.
Right.
But obviously now the young guys that grew up in Seattle or Tacoma, watch those guys play and are trying to follow in their footsteps. I think it's an awesome thing. Obviously, all credit to those guys for doing what they've done with their opportunities.
100%. You mentioned culture early on with, having a strong culture at Duke, and it was almost like every time you walked into that building, like you could feel the energy. You could feel this, this positive workplace. These guys wanted to win. What is it that separated Duke, from everybody else? Yeah.
I think the expectation was made pretty clear.
Okay.
For everyone from the head coach down to the last guy. So I knew what I was going to – I was just speak for myself. Because I knew exactly what I needed to do. Mm-hmm. And I think the expectation of being at a place like that, with the expectation of that particular group too, that I wanted to do everything at the highest level I could. Right. And so I didn't want to let anyone down. And so that was my – that's the best way. That's the word I was looking for. I think I remember what Coach would say a lot is that there wasn't rules for the program, there were standards, right? And so standards is probably the best way to put it. Understood the standard, understand what was expected of you. And again, I'll just speak for myself on that. I understood what was expected of me every day, and I wanted to deliver at a really high level because I didn't want to let anyone down, especially Kevin, obviously, who gave me that opportunity. But from everyone down the line, I felt incredibly grateful to be there. It was obviously such a unique thing for a kid from Tacoma to end up in Durham and to be a part of that program. And so I wanted to do the very best job I could. And I think that feeling matriculated through the entire program, where there's such a high expectation with the culture there, with the winning, with the standard of winning. I think that raises everyone's game up, and so that's what really made it feel really special. And again, I wanted to do the best job I could. I didn't want to let anyone down.
Yeah.
That was kind of where I took it.
100%. Was that something that Coach K instilled in guys like from day one, or was it like a process? Like how did
I would say so. Again, I was there for 10 months on
Yeah.
the first end, and then another 3. And my job was very much in the background.
Yeah.
But to the feel of that is just that. That's a culture that he set. And again, when you walk into that building, you remember that same door I walk into every day when we walked in for practice, right?
Yeah.
And you saw everything on the walls, and everything's very intentional as far as the messaging.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the lessons I'll take away for sure is what you guys want to instill, or what a head coach wants to instill, is very clear. It's intentional. It's on the board. It's on the walls. So the standards are clear for everyone that walks in the door. The expectation is clear, and then we take it from there, take it to the court, take it to off the court too. As far as academic and other responsibilities, that standard applies to the whole area of life there. And I think that's what was really cool, as far as understanding what that meant, understanding what it meant to be a part of that program, and then taking it from there.
Yeah.
And we talk about your career, how you coach at all sorts of levels of basketball. What would you say are the differences between coaching pros and coaching college? And you mentioned maybe taking a couple things from the NBA and bringing it to the college level.
Yeah.
So, what are the differences? How do you
Dude, Harvey, great question, man. Great question. I'd say the biggest difference with pros and college players, I think there's a lot more teaching with college players, as far as the little details, as far as footwork or how we catch or how we want to rip. With pros, those guys are so talented, man. It's incredible. So I think with pros, it was trying to get those marginal gains where you can shoot the 3 a little better at a higher rate, finish at a higher rate. But those guys are so skilled, man. It's a different teaching than what we do with these guys every day, as far as footwork and those little details of their game. When you go to the NBA, those guys know exactly what how to play. How to play with each other, how to move the ball quickly. Like they're very much on the same page. And I think, at least from my experience in Phoenix, it was trying to help those guys, marginally in those margins where we can help them get a little bit better in one skill or another. But a little bit different as far as the teaching goes. There's more teaching here, more breakdown here. Everything else is really refining skills at the NBA and helping these guys get in those margins a little bit better, so they can be a better player overall. And then schematically. Really, in the NBA, a lot of teams run the same stuff, because you think about it, you go from team to team. You have to really pick up stuff really fast, and so it's very similar. Here, I think John would agree. He's played for a couple schools that systems are school specific. Maybe not a lot of carryover between program to program, but I'd say it's kind of the opposite in the NBA, because obviously there's so much turnover that guys need to be ready to be plugged and played immediately. So it's a little different in that aspect too.
Yeah, you talked about briefly about the importance of relationships, like for you as a coach, like having relationships with your players, with your other coaches.
Yeah.
Talk about just like the importance of a relationships, in a winning culture.
Fantastic question,
John. There you go.
Well, I think relationships are going to be the foundation of everything, right? So you're not going to trust me until we have that foundation built. So I can't coach you until we have that trust built.
Right.
And so I think that, especially when I take a new job, hopefully you felt that when I got here summer ago, that was the focus of mine, is figuring out what makes you tick, figuring out what the other guys, what makes them tick, and then helping you become the best version of you. Mm-hmm. So whether that's from an analytical perspective, from a basketball perspective, or an off-the-court stuff. Maybe it's something that needs to be an off-the-court something to address. So. Again, though, the relationships are the foundation, because without the trust there that's built in, you knowing me and me knowing you, I can't coach you as well as I could on the court, right? Because that trust wouldn't be there. So the trust is really the foundation of everything, that, from my perspective, of coaching, because, again, without it, I can't do my job as a coach well, and then you're not going to be able to grow as much without it too. So I think it really goes hand in hand as far as the foundation being relationships, being that trust piece, because without it, I don't think we're going anywhere.
Am I right in saying that I feel like I hear a lot, and I'm sure all coaches do a little part of this, but am I right in saying that a lot of the coaches or people in the video part end up going to coaching more than maybe somebody who starts out mainly in defense or mainly in offense? Is it true that...
You're talking about like the ladder of coaching?
The ladder of coaching,
Yeah.
exactly. And does it, I feel like a lot of stories start from video, somebody in the back, Eric Spoelstra and stories like that. Is it true in saying that?
That's a good example. I think... So when I was coming up, it was very much you go video, then you go ops, and you're lucky enough to be an assistant. There's a clear ladder. Yeah. I think now it's a little more gray, and not in a bad way. I think all this experience is really beneficial, whether you start in video or ops or whatever it may be. I think where the game's going, I think you can be a player development guy or an AAU coach or something more along the lines of a basketball coach, and still find your way on that ladder. For guys like me who didn't really have a way in to start, that video piece, that ops piece, that GA position was actually really important because it got my foot in the door, and then I was able to learn, get better, and then continue to grow from there. But I'd say nowadays, I think it's not as directly a path as far as video ops assistant head coach. There are many different ways to get in, and I think you see a lot of that now with what's going on with some of these programs. I think it's really cool, giving some guys an opportunity that are really, really good coaches. So it's not as I want to say black and white as far as where it was maybe when I was coming up, but it's cool how the game's developed and the coaching side has developed as well along with it.
Now, a lot of your job nowadays is recruiting. You need to obviously recruit and retain, the best players. Yeah. And a big change in this day and age is this NIL piece. Like, talk about the change from when college basketball didn't have NIL, and the change now and what you noticed. On that landscape.
Yeah, I think we'll keep it very generic. Yeah. But as far as the NIL piece, I think you guys should be getting a piece of this. I think that's an important change that was made. Now, I think with as far as what it was before, obviously those relationships were really important as far as with AU coaches, high school coaches, and families. Still very important. That's how you get in the door. I think the NIL piece certainly helps tilt the scales one way or another these days. And so, with schools like ours and schools that are able to be competitive from an NIL standpoint, it makes recruiting easier in some aspects, maybe harder in some others. But at the end of the day, the relationship piece again comes back into play because you're getting the kids that mesh with your culture, that mesh with the type of people you want to bring into your program in general, and then they're able to grow and take off from there as well. So I think a lot of it's the same. Some of it's different with the money that's involved. But I think it's all positive, at least heading in a positive direction as far as you guys being taken care of as well for all your efforts. And then as from a recruiting standpoint, getting the kids that fit your culture, fit your program, that remains similar.
That's priority.
Now they're able to benefit a little bit from the new rules.
And I think we touched on it briefly, but one of the parts of your career that I want to touch on a little bit more is your time at USA Basketball. You helped out with minicamp and preparation for the 2016 Rio Olympics.
Yeah.
And you talked about earlier the differences between pros and college players and how pros it's a little less teaching but more refining. This is at the highest level. I mean, a couple of the players here are like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Carmelo. So what is it like preparing for a camp with, just all-stars and, even some of the best players of all time?
Nah, man, I was wide-eyed in that thing. And then to be fair, so I was just a video guy at that camp, very small role. But to be able to be in that gym was really, really cool, right? So.
Great.
And then I think I got on the court a little bit too, if I remember right, which was obviously a blast, working with those guys. So again, those guys are so talented and so good at what they do. I'm just trying to do what I need to do and get out of the way because they know what they're doing. They know what they need. They know what they're doing. So it was a really cool experience to know and feel like what the highest level dudes do and what the highest level coaches do. So you can kind of take those pieces and apply it to your coaching as well. Like every experience has something that you are going to take with you, and maybe something you don't like that you're not going to do yourself. I've been really lucky to have those scales tilted and, learning from some of the best dudes in the country. And obviously those mini camps were a part of that experience. So again, thank you to Kevin Cullen. He offered me the opportunity to be a part of that too. When Coach K was the head coach of the national team there. And so, again, very small role, but to be in that gym and understand what that looks like, and again, what that feels like, because I think that's important. When you walk into a gym and you know what it feels like to be a part of that program, not only does that help recruiting, kind of tying all this stuff together, not only does that help recruiting, but I think it establishes the standard that we talked about earlier as far as what your program should look and feel like, and what you want your players to look and feel like too, as they wear your logo on their chest and on their jerseys and stuff. So those were really cool experiences. Very small role, but to understand what it looked like and feel like was something I'll take away for sure.
Now we've talked about the different playing styles. Some play a slow pace, like you got a UVA who plays really slow. You got some teams that they like to get shots up really quick in the shot clock.
Mm-hmm.
What's your go-to coaching philosophy on an offensive side and a defensive side? What values do you bring to the table?
Yeah, I think so. Here I've been doing a lot of defensive stuff, as you know,
right.
And this has been a really fantastic experience for me because I was offense a lot prior to my stop here.
Yep.
And so this was a really cool experience to learn from Coach Vic, and obviously everything we do defensively here is really high level. Mm-hmm. So 2 years ago we were 10th in the country in overall defense. Last year we were 26. So a lot of what we do defensively is going to carry over all those concepts we teach from spot to spot, wherever we all end up, right? So I'm very, very thankful for that opportunity to learn from Vic and obviously have the opportunity to be on that side here. Yep. I think you'd agree, John, what we do defensively is very detailed.
Yep.
As far as how we approach games and how we approach scouts. So that's something that I'll take away for sure. But that's been a really, really cool thing. Now, offensively, I like what we do here too.
Okay.
I like what we do here too. Now, I think one of my side projects, I've kind of messed with a little offensive stuff myself. I haven't perfected it yet, but we'll see. Maybe a couple years from now, you'll see something a little different. But I think again, same idea. Like all these stops I've had, you pick up pieces that you like, you pick up pieces you don't necessarily vibe with, and you kind of build your coaching philosophy from there. And the same thing offensively and defensively. Now, I will say I think this experience has been fantastic defensively because of how involved I am on that side of it here. But offensively, I think we're doing some really cool stuff. I think we're going to make a big jump next year, too.
100%. Are you more of a fast-paced, are we playing fast or are we playing slower?
Yeah.
Like, what do you envision a good offense?
Are you talking about this team or just in general?
In general.
Just in general. I think everything depends on your roster, right? You got to figure out what's best for the group you got.
Yeah.
If you're talking generically or analytically, the more possessions you have, the more points you have the opportunity to score, right?
Sure.
So the faster you play, on both sides of the ball. Defensively, if you're more up tempo and pressing and forcing more turnovers, that means there's more possessions on the other end where you get an opportunity to get a shot up, right? Mm-hmm. So you can make the argument, at least analytically, not saying this is the right or wrong way, that the more possessions you get, then the more opportunities you have to score. So playing fast obviously aids to that type of playing style. Yeah. So there's teams that play like that. There's teams that are maybe more apt to play a little slower. Yep. Maybe they're a little bigger, can't maybe run up and down the floor as much. So then you're more playing football underneath the rim maybe instead. So it really depends on the type of roster you have, and what your best players are really good at, and then as far as however else your roster is constructed. And I think that's the fun part of coaching too, right? You get to recruit your team, put your team together, and then figure out what the best way is to put them in the best position to be successful. Yeah. On both sides of the ball. So it really depends on your roster. Again, there's many different ways. Teams have won it playing fast. Teams have won it playing a little slower. So there's no right way, but you could certainly make an argument for either way. But I think most would agree that it just depends on how your roster's set up.
You talk about how the game is now, and I want to know how you see how the game has evolved. And you mentioned the analytical piece that I feel like has been very dominant in, I'm sure, all levels of basketball, NBA, for example.
Yeah.
What's your view on it? You say you're not saying if it's right or wrong now, but do you have an opinion on the balance between
analytics and I'm a big fan, and that was a big part of my job in Phoenix. Actually, it was to learn about how analytics worked and how you could. Really, my job was to translate what the analytics department was saying to the coaching staff. That was really the job, and so I was able to learn a lot about the numbers from that experience itself. What I've gotten from that, I think the analytics provide a foundation, provide a map of where we want to take guys or take our team. But it's always a supplement to what you're able to see on the court. So always a supplement to what you're able to do on the court. And then when you combine those two things, what we're able to see analytically with what you're able to do on the court with each of these guys' different skill sets, that's when you're able to max out as a player. So when we talk about with John, or at least with our guys in general, you remember in Christmas at the end of the year we have our player development reports.
Okay.
Those are based in analytic, the analytic breakdowns, which provide, as far as shot type, shot location, everything that John's doing well, everything that John, needs to spend some extra time on. And what's cool about our place here and what our coach runs this program is that player development is a year-round focus of ours, not just the spring and summer. So we provide these breakdowns at certain points during the year, and then that provides a foundation for us as far as what we can help John continue to sharpen his strengths. Any of our guys, I'm using John's example because he's sitting right here. And then those areas of his game that need work, right? So whether it's during the season, we can sit down and say, hey, John, why aren't we shooting the corner three as highly these last few games, this last 4-game split? And then we can watch those shots, analyze it, get your opinion too, right? Because that's important. I don't want to just be talking with you, or talking to you, I should say. I want to talk with you, figure it out how we can get you better. And so we combine that, get it kind of analyze, or at least pinpoint those areas of need or those areas of strength we continue to sharpen too. We get your opinion, sit down, right? Come up with a workout plan, a specific individualized workout plan, and then we hit the court with it. So John just had his individual today. That was an individualized workout plan for him, what he needs to get better at, and those things he needs to continue to sharpen as we go into next season. And then again, when you combine those things, that's when you're able to max out and these guys make the biggest jump. Yeah. And that's what's exciting to me. So when you're able to put all those things together, that's when you guys make the jump you need to make. If you just looked at the analytics, you probably missed some things. If you just looked at the on-court stuff, you probably missed some things too. Mm-hmm. But again, when you combine those things, that's when you're able to make that jump.
It's like a balance almost. You gotta have a balance with everything.
Yep.
You've had some big wins over the years. You've been a part of some pretty big wins.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about a really memorable experience, a really memorable win from any one of your spots? You can pick.
Yeah.
To Seattle, whatever.
Let's see. Shoot.
Yeah. I want to hear about it.
There's a lot. I can't. Well, no. I mean, so the national championship was awesome. Yeah. That was a once in a lifetime thing.
Right.
Just to be again a small part of that thing was awesome. Amazing. Just to be around those people. Right. There's a lot of cool wins at Florida too. There's one in particular, PK80 down in Portland. It was the semifinal game. We played Gonzaga at Moda, and the whole place was packed with Gonzaga people. So it was really cool it was a road game. And that MTE was a really cool experience. That was the best one out there, right? Really? They take care of you. It's a cool environment, the whole deal. And I think it went into double overtime, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Chris Chioza hit a layup at the buzzer to tie it. I think Jonathan Williams had like 40 points or something on us. It was a cool back and forth game, and we ended up winning overtime. And to quiet that whole arena full of Gonzaga fans walking out was really cool. Ironically, in the championship game, we played Duke.
Yeah. And
I think we were up 12 or 14. I think with probably 8 or 10 minutes left. Yeah. And I was like, man, it's coming, because I could feel it. And they actually came back to beat us. Great game, though. It was cool opportunity to be a part of that game. But any NCAA tournament game, that too, John. Like, those opportunities are really cool. That type of environment, that feeling you get when you walk into the NCAA, there's nothing like it. So for us, obviously that's our goal here at Seattle.
100%.
For as long as I continue to coach, that's going to be my goal to continue to get back to that tournament and go as long and as far as we can in that type of environment. But those games are always really special. Conference tournament games are really fun too.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of big wins here too. Now, I mean, the CBI was a lot of fun. Bringing the title back to Seattle U. So, a lot of cool experiences so far. Hopefully, a couple more to add down the line.
I don't want to take away the UW win. I mean,
UW again, another great one too.
You guys have to think about this. Let's just put this in perspective for 1 second. I think the last time Seattle U had beaten the University of Washington was like 1978 or 75.
It was a long time.
Or a long time, right? So it's cool, man, when you have such a supportive base.
Yeah.
They're all out there, they're all rooting for you. At an away game in Heck Ed. You know what I mean? And those experiences kind of play to your, obviously that Florida win But man, those are fun.
Dude, that was a blast. I can't believe I forgot about that. It was so fun. I mean, you played so well. The team played so well.
Everybody played great.
Approached that game the right way. Heading into Christmas, it was great. MA played his ass off.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it was fantastic. That was a fun. I'm glad you mentioned that one because that was cool. That was big for our program.
Yeah.
The celebration after the game was so fun, and then obviously big for the university too. And obviously it speaks volumes of what Coach is doing here, and with the trajectory of the program heading to WCC. To get a win like that against a team like that, obviously they're incredibly talented. Coach does a great job over there too. But to get that win was big for the program, big for all of you guys, and then again speaks to what Coach is doing here too. So
100%.
great point, John. That was a fun game too. That was fun.
Keep rolling.
I'd love to know. I can only imagine the amount of lessons you bring with you from all these spots. How do you keep those? Is there a journal that you have with all?
You're journaling? What's
Look
going
at
on?
this.
Or you just got the.
For coaching, for good lessons that you learn from coaches, from teams.
Dude.
How do you?
Harvey's coming with some good questions, man. I like it. I actually do have a journal. Well, I guess more of a notes section. So I started as a Word document when I first started out. So this thing's like 100 pages now. So now I can't always access it on my phone, so I got like a draft email that I just have. It's a long draft email. I just continue to save any ideas that I like. So stuff on Twitter, pregame, postgame stuff, anything from how a team does its social media that I like. I always mark it because I think that's an important piece now too. To plays I like, really anything and everything that would go into being a head coach of a program. And then again, like we talked about earlier, you take the pieces that you really like and you throw that into what you want your culture to be and what your program to feel like, and then some of the things you don't necessarily vibe with, and you kind of toss those to the side. But that Word document, it's fun. You guys think it's funny. I mean, it's everything from like camp names to what I want our logos to be, the whole thing. Because I think that's really important. The messaging, and again, the lesson I learned to do as far as messaging and culture. There's no small stuff, right? There's no small stuff. So everything that goes into a program is a direct correlation of a decision made by its leader. And I think it's really important that everything is on track with the message you want to send, just like it is here. And so that Word document, that Gmail draft is full of different ideas that hopefully I'll get to execute one day.
And it sounds like it reminds me of when you were talking about Duke. Do you feel like coaching you're not just coaching the players, you're also coaching, you're leading the whole organization, everything up and down.
And that's the cool part about it. I mean, like the most fun thing is hanging with the guys, right? Being on the court with the guys, in the locker room, pre and post game, during the game, blast. I think what's cool about college athletics in particular is the connection to the community, alumni, university that comes along with it, right? And so we've all been a part of really good teams. That connection to the team is really cool. We felt it here at Seattle many times. And so, as the head coach, again, I haven't been there yet, but seeing it from afar as an assistant, the building connection between the community and your team is a really important part of the job, and so I think that's also evolving too with how this game is going, as far as certainly becoming more of a CEO of the organization, of the program. But again, the foundation of every basketball team is going to be the kids and your relationship with them. So that needs to be the focus, and everything else kind of branches off from there. But again, good point. I mean, the job is evolving, and so it's kind of an exciting thing though when you get to be kind of involved in all aspects of the university, of the community, of the supporters, alumni, the players, of their families. That's all really fun to me.
Yeah, in a college season, in any season, you're bound to hit a little bit of adversity.
Bound.
Whatever. I mean, not every. Okay, you're going to hit adversity one way or the other.
No doubt. How about it?
Whether it's wins or losses, losses.
I'll do you one better.
Go.
You can do it in life.
In life. You know what? You're bound to hit adversity. There's going to be adversity in your life. Right?
Yep.
My question to you is, as a coach, as a leader of an organization or a team, what are the best ways to, combat some of that adversity?
Yeah.
That you may hit.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point, a great question, because like I know we were kind of having some fun there, but whether it's basketball or outside of the court, like you're gonna hit some stuff, right? That's just how this thing goes. Sure. So I think the more we can address the challenge with a mature outlook, the better, right? And so I know we've had some talks, John. I've had some talks with every guy that I've coached, right? Is that we have to address the problem, understand what it is, and then come up with a specific plan of attack. I mean, that's how I would do it. So anything that's bugging me or giving me anxiety, understand what the problem is, come up with a plan of attack, and then knock out those steps. And that's how it calms me down. If I have a plan of attack and I'm able to knock out one step that leads to the next step, then maybe decrease that anxiety along the way, that's how I'm able to help myself in those situations. Now, I take a similar approach with you guys. Now, if there's a problem, okay, come to me, we'll talk about it, and then we'll come up with a step-by-step plan to address it, and then hopefully we can get out of that rut. But again, without a plan of attack here that provides that opportunity to grow from a mental toughness standpoint, I think oftentimes we may end up digging that hole a little deeper. So coming up with a plan of attack, executing those steps, and then growing from there, I think are, at least from my perspective, the best ways to deal with adversity, whether it's basketball or life.
Kind of bouncing off of that, I was interested when you were talking about specific player-specific training and working on things to improve. You talk about the communication you have with the player. How important is that to have that feedback? And is it common? Is that, or is there something that you saw at some point and felt like it was important to implement? How important is that back and forth?
I think it's crucial. One, I think it helps build a relationship between us, right? Build that trust, but it also gives them ownership over their own game. Yeah. And I think that's something that's really important from my perspective, because I could talk to John all day about how to shoot it, what I want him to do. This is how he should do this, and I would love to give him those points, but is that going to help him the most? You know, how can I help John the most? So getting his feedback on what he wants to get better at, how he sees some different shots, how he wants to attack off the bounce more so than maybe another way that I'm teaching it, then let's talk about that, and we can come up with a compromise or a solution that helps him, again, be better. At the end of the day, whether it's my teaching point or one of the other coaches' teaching point, or maybe it's John's teaching point, the most important thing is that he gets better and he maxes out as a basketball player. Because at the end of the day, if he's doing that, then our teams are playing well and we're winning games, and that's what we're supposed to do. But again, coming back to their ownership over their own growth, over their own game, I think is a really important piece of it. And again, I don't view it as me giving into them or not knowing what to do, but I always appreciate your guys' perspective, because you're in the game right now. You know, you're playing against the defense. I can only hit you with the pad every so often, right? So to get your feedback, to understand what you want to get better at, build that trust, continue to build that trust. Again, and we've talked about that a lot because it's the foundation of everything. Is an incredibly important part of the process for me. And it helps us all get better too. Helps me get better as a coach, helps them get better as a player, and I think all those things are positive.
What are some of the non-negotiables, you know, when it comes to, you know, a team, right? Like, what are the expectations do you think, you know, some of those really successful teams have?
Yeah, well, I'll speak to our place here, because I think Coach does a great job of it. Obviously, our model. Do you know it, John? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Where are we going here?
Uh-oh, John. We're going to edit this out.
Well, I know what
Okay, hit me with it.
You're going to invest.
Yeah.
You're going to compete.
Yeah.
You're going to have joy.
Yeah.
And you're going to play with unity.
Good job, man. Yeah, invest and compete. Invest and compete with joy and unity. Yeah, exactly right. So that's what Coach, I think obviously does a great job of implementing it. And when you see that, obviously we talk about messaging and culture. That's the first thing you see when you walk in the door, right? So that's the most important thing. That's the foundation of everything we do here at Seattle. So again, I think going back on how to build a culture, those are the non-negotiables, right? We're going to invest. We're going to compete. We're going to play with joy. We're going to play with unity every day. And I think that's a really cool way of explaining our culture here at Seattle. So those would be the non-negotiables here. I think you can branch off all those things. So you're not going to class? Well, that's not competing. That's not doing what you need to do to be a part of this program. Are you not eating breakfast? Okay, if you're not eating breakfast, are you competing with joy and unity? Are you investing everything you need to do to be the best player for our team? Probably not. So all those things that you need to do to be the best student, the best person, the best basketball player, all kind of consumed in that one phrase, which obviously is beneficial to us as coaches. Can we keep it simple? You guys know what to do, and then we can kind of branch off from there to help you guys be the best player you can be. So it's not just
words on the wall. It's actually like actionable steps and actionable things.
That's when it's best. If it's just words and no action, disconnect. When you combine those things, that's when it means something.
That's when you can go places.
Yep.
Right.
I'm curious to know what has been something in the last couple of years. You talk about learning all the time. What's been something in the last couple of months that you think was like, oh, I never knew this? What's been the one big thing that you've learned about over the past couple of months that has been like, oh?
Yeah, you know, I think the coolest part of this job, or at least me growing up, is that there's always something to learn, right? There's always something. There's a new drill, new teaching point. There's a new way to approach a player. There's a new way to recruit, all that stuff. So there's learning to be done every day. And if I think I got it figured out, then I'm not being the best I can be for not only myself, but also these guys. And so learning every day is a crucial part of not only this job, but I think life in general, right? Like, if we're not getting better, then we're falling behind.
Yeah.
So same thing with these guys. I think learning from them, learning from the other guys on staff, doing my own education too, learn from other coaches and going to watch different games or learn from other staffs. Those are all important pieces of my growth too. And then I am able to take it back to these guys, help them get better, and in turn, again, help them, we talk about this a lot too, help them max out as players too, and obviously in turn, it helps our team be its best as well. So learning is a huge part of this. I think when I was 10 years old, I probably planned to be a head coach by 25 or whatever. And that's okay, because I still have some more learning to do here. And when the time does come, then I'll be more prepared for it. Now, I'm learning every day so I can be a better assistant now, and then I'll be prepared for whatever comes next because of those opportunities to learn from everyone I'm able to learn from, which is great.
Yeah, I think in today's day and age especially, there's a lot of distractions, right? With social media.
You said it, John.
This comparison game, with, all these things that kind of take you away from, what really matters, right?
Yeah, totally.
What do you tell, young players kind of going through this new social media, me type of culture and world?
I think it's a great point. And I think it's something that's kind of a part of what we have to address, right? Now, I think from a personal standpoint, I think the answer would be to tell you or to tell anybody that's dealing with something like this to run your own race, right? Run your own race. I think we're all where we're supposed to be right now. We're supposed to be here right now. So take advantage of that moment. Take advantage of the resources we have here. Just say it's a Seattle U player, right? Sure. Take advantage of the resource we have here at Seattle. And run your own race. Get better every day. Understand what the culture and expectations here at Seattle are. Follow through on those expectations. And then I promise you, the more 1% you stack up every day, with what we're doing, whether it's a spring workout when you get to 4 hours a week, whether it's 4 hours in the weight room, you take advantage of those 4 hours. Imagine the growth that's going to be made over the course of summer. Yeah. And then you do that over the course of the year. Imagine the growth that's made over the course of the spring to the following winter, right? So you keep stacking those days with the foundation, the culture that we've established here. I think that's how I would at least approach addressing that issue, right? Comparison, social media, I get it. Yeah. But to do the work every day, to understand you're running your race and that you're where you're supposed to be right now, but continue to look upwards trajectory-wise with the work that you're doing, I think that's where you're able to put yourself in a position to be successful and get what you want eventually. But again, coming back to the same idea, learning every day, getting better every day, and putting yourself in the best position to be successful at the end of the day.
I think that's a great way to end it. I think that's a beautiful way to end it. Yeah, we want to get you.
That's it.
Got you on time. Hey, we're getting close to that.
You know what? Honestly, Harvey, I think we can go for another 4 minutes. He has 3 more minutes. We're gonna keep it going.
What you got, Sizzle?
No, the only thing I would just add on to that is just okay, for players nowadays, right? Yeah. This AAU ball, right? It's a different style, right? It's it's all about me, right? Yeah. Tell me the importance of caring for your brother, making that extra pass, doing the thing for the guy around you, and how important that is in a culture, in a team.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you feel that here. Yeah. I mean, when you're with your team, I think that's something, especially with a culture like ours, that's something you feel every day, right? 100%. We talked about that quite a lot. I was just recruiting this last weekend, and you see exactly kind of what you're talking about. We had you remember those days? You had the row of coaches sitting on the side on the baseline, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get mine. If I make this one, I'm getting an offer tonight.
Get an offer. Right?
But that's not necessarily the case, right?
That's not all they're looking for, right? These coaches, right? So they're looking for the guy who plays hard every possession, that gives max effort, that is celebrating other people's success. I think that was something I learned early on. Was
100%.
Celebrate your brothers.
100%, man. I think you'll notice the guys that are shooting the shots, but part of the job we do when we go, as opposed to just watching it on Synergy or something like that, is to evaluate exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. So how are they in the huddle? Are they listening to their coaches? Yeah. Are they dapping guys up after a basket? Are they helping guys up off the floor? Mm-hmm. Are they hitting every time there's a shot that goes up? Are they sprinting back on defense? Are they sprinting back on offense? Are they running the lane? All those little things that you evaluate when you're able to see that in the club ball scene, right, or the summer ball scene. Yeah. Those are little things that obviously translate so much more than maybe making a shot at the next level. So part of our job as assistants when we go out and look and evaluate is evaluating those skills, right? Yeah. Exactly to your point, is figuring out not only can they score, are they athletic enough, are they tall enough, long enough, whatever it is. All those things are foundational piece to being a good basketball player. But are you going to separate yourself from the guys who make shots with how coachable you are, how well you listen, how well you communicate? Communication is a big thing now too, right? Because not a whole lot of people talk to each other. They're just texting, right? And so the guys that talk a lot on the court, that's something that stands out to me quite a bit.
Yeah.
So all those little things, those little skills that we even try to develop here, right? In the 8 a.m. workouts, I'm saying warm up your voices. Kind of how many makes we got. So all those things kind of come into play, right? As far as those intangible skills that you mentioned that end up playing a huge part in how good of a basketball player you are, more so than not, how high your ceiling can be, right? Because guys, the higher you go up, there's a lot of guys that make shots. There's a lot of guys that can go off the bounce. There's a lot of guys that can dunk the ball.
100%.
But are you going to take your game from here to maybe here with those intangible things as far as communication, how well you listen, how coachable you are you dapping up your teammates after a big bucket? Are you engaged on the bench? All those little things that come into play, and being a good teammate, being a good player, but more so than anything, being a good dude and I already said it, but a good teammate. I think those are the most important things to evaluate.
Actually, would love to know, how do you, as a scout, how do you differentiate between something that is maybe not a part of a player's game and something that's workable and improvable? How do you differentiate the two?
Yeah.
And decide what?
No, I think and that's part of it. So there are guys who've been doing this a lot longer than I have, and probably a better question for them. But I'll give you what I do. So, say a kid comes down and hits a 3 off the bounce. I'll mark that down and say made 3 off bounce, and then I'll see if he can do it again. And then I'll see how quick vertically he is, how quick laterally he is, and just evaluate the athleticism piece. Now, the body frame and stuff like that are another piece that comes into play. But I think you just can, the more you watch, the more you evaluate, you can see if the foundation of that skill set is there, right? So if he's quick vertically or laterally, you can see how quick he can get to the basket versus not, how tight his handle is, can he go left, can he go right? Guys who maybe are hesitating to shoot jumpers, okay, that's a sign to me that he's probably not a good jump shooter, at least confident yet. Is that something we can develop? Because he's so athletic and bouncy that maybe it's worth taking a shot. All those questions that you kind of ask yourself in the evaluation process. Now, to be fair, evaluation process is a lot quicker these days, right, with the portal. So you have to do your work early and then really quickly at the same time. But with the high school kids, you're able to see it over the course of a couple of years, and so you're able to see how they develop over the course of time. But usually you can tell if a skill set's there and it can be developed, and then what they do really, really well. So if we're going to recruit a kid here, in my opinion, they're going to have an elite skill set. One thing they do really, really well, right? Whether it's shooting, rebounding, setting screens, being physical, whatever it is, it's got to be elite. And then the second thing is the second skill set that we can develop over time. So maybe for like a big, he's an elite screen setter. He's going to finish around the rim. And that's his elite skill set now. And over the course of his time with us, maybe he can develop into a pick and pop 3 shooter. And so those are the things that I think about when I'm evaluating recruiting kids.
Well, I think that's the way to end.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Yeah, no, that was great. And yeah, the great answer. I think that's a great way to end. Coach Bryce Douglas,
Fellas.
Appreciate you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, man. This was a blast.
Great conversation. And yes, sir, man. Coach Bryce
Come
Douglas.
on, let's go. Another great podcast. For the
Appreciate you
boys,
guys. Thanks for having me, man. Hope I gave you some good nuggets here.
Oh, you definitely did.
Absolutely.
We could have went for